We are living inside a quiet, modern exhaustion. It is the feeling of being a personal renovation project that is perpetually behind schedule, pressured by the constant demand to optimize. This pressure comes from a transactional logic that has seeped into every corner of our lives. We are told to justify our existence through our economic output, our religious obedience, or our continuous self-improvement. When we fail to meet those demands, we are offered two failing extremes. We either collapse into a toxic positivity that ignores our pain, or a sense of total depravity where we see ourselves as disposable trash. This handwritten inquiry asks a sharper question: redemption from what? To answer it, we have to look for a middle path, one that recognizes objective damage like trauma and addiction without erasing our inherent, indestructible worth. Shifting from a goal of fixing ourselves to a posture of witnessing our own lives acts as a philosophical wedge. It destabilizes the shame-based doctrines that keep us in debt to our own potential. Stopping the treadmill requires dismantling three specific lies we've been told about our internal minds, our external spirituality, and our existential suffering. The first demand is internal. We are taught to view our worst traits, our rage, our numbing, or our addictions, as glitches in the system that must be eradicated. But as this internal cockpit map suggests, the mind is not a single entity. It is an ecosystem of parts, each playing a role in our survival. When we are overwhelmed, a specific group called firefighters takes over. These are reactive protectors that use extreme behaviors to extinguish the emotional pain of our deepest wounds when other defenses fail. These behaviors are often a desperate rescue attempt. As this panel illustrates, a protective part throws a drowning person a rope to save them, but eventually that same rope can become a noose. The move here is not to fight these parts, but to recognize their positive intent to keep us alive. By acknowledging the job they've done, we can begin to retire them with honors. As these protective parts trust the core self enough to relax their grip, the reactive cycle pauses. This shift moves the mind from a state of survival to a posture of curious awareness. The second demand is spiritual. We often project our transactional culture onto the divine, imagining a God who functions like an angry creditor. This turns ancient phrases like "vengeance is mine" into a threat. But in context, it is an invitation to release the weight of retaliation and let go of the ledger we were never meant to hold. This redefines our concept of consequence. Hell is not a dungeon of punishment, but the experience of disconnection, the pain of being cut off from resonance and love. Judgment, then, is a mirror of clarity. It reveals who we are without the weight of condemnation. The spiritual weight lifts when we stop treating our existence as a debt to an angry creditor. The claim on our identity isn't paid off through a transaction, it's simply disregarded. Finally, we face the existential demand for a clean equation. We want to believe that suffering is always a logical punishment for a specific sin. The story of Job challenges this. Job sits in the ash and demands an explanation from God. His friends offer tidy reasons for his pain, but the text refuses to provide a simple, satisfying answer. When God finally responds, it is not with a list of reasons. Instead, Job is given a tour of the overwhelming majesty of the universe: mountain goats giving birth, the storehouses of snow, and rotating nebulas. Job doesn't get a reason for his tragedy, but he gets a direct relationship with the one he was shouting at. This encounter reorders his perspective, offering a presence that stays within the storm, rather than a logical reason for it. When we realize our habits are protectors, and the divine is not a creditor, the demand to justify our lives through purpose crumbles. We move into a state of presence over purpose. This is the realization that our worth exists before our output, our obedience, or our self-improvement. Purpose can emerge from resonance once it no longer has to carry the burden of justifying why we are alive. You are not a project to be completed. You are a presence to be witnessed. The world is good but broken, and you are allowed to be here.